Stop translating in your head. That's the secret to fluency. Read this quick summary to learn how to think directly in a new language without using English as a crutch. Why it works? It challenges a common habit and offers a clear, effective alternative. In this video, we'll give you the full idea of Fluent Forever book summary, easy to understand through a story. Let's go. Mike is 23, from a small town in the USA. He loves music and dreams of singing in other languages. But every time he tries, words disappear like soap bubbles. One day he finds a simple promise. The brain learns by building connections, not by memorizing lists. So Mike decides to learn differently. He uses pictures instead of translations, trains his ear with tiny sound pairs, builds flashcards that ask him questions, and makes every new word feel personal. He practices just 30 minutes a day and treats mistakes like gold. They tell him where to focus. This plan is not magic. It is science made kind and playful. In the next pages, parts 1 and 2, you will follow Mike as he discovers adult learning strengths, how to make deep personal connections with words, and the simple daily habits that transform short-term memory into language that lives in his mouth and heart. Read, imagine, answer the little questions inside, and watch your brain change. Part 1. Adults have an advantage. Mike thought he was too old. He pictured toddlers soaking up language and felt left out. Then he met a teacher who said, "Adults are good pattern detectives." Mike learned that his age gives him tools, focus, goals, and the power to notice patterns in grammar and sound. So he turned his fear into a plan. First rule Mike learned: set a clear purpose. Why learn? To sing, to travel, to make friends. His purpose made boring drills meaningful. Second rule: small, regular practice beats rare marathon sessions. Mike chose 30 minutes a day. Third rule: use real things from your life. When he learned the word for guitar, he tied it to the exact guitar in his room, the scar on its body, and the song he loved. That personal link made the word stick. Active recall moment. Question: what 3 adult strengths helped Mike learn faster? Answer: pattern noticing, clear purpose, and focused practice. Mike also changed his mind about talent. He stopped waiting for a natural gift. He learned memory science. Repeated, well-timed recall builds lasting knowledge. So he made his own flashcards. Each card showed one picture, no translation, one short sentence he would actually say, and one tiny pronunciation note. He tested himself, wrote the word from memory, then checked. When he failed, the card came back sooner. This was not punishment. It was a map showing where to focus. Small story beat. Mike tried to memorize 20 new words at once and failed. He felt ashamed. Then he reduced the number to 5, used images and a song, and after a week, those 5 were solid. His confidence grew far faster than his word count. A small, smart win. Tip you can use now. Make each new word a little story about your life. The stranger or funnier the story, the stronger the memory. Reference for the value of adult strengths, personal connections, and building your own flashcards is built from the guide's methods. Part 2. Connections are everything. Mike walks through a market in Rome. He doesn't translate, he connects. He sees a red apple, hears the word, feels its scent in his memory. The book teaches that memory is a network. The more threads to a word, image, sound, feeling, context, the stronger it stays. Mike learns to create those threads. He uses 4 steps for each new word. Number 1, what it looks like. Number 2, how it sounds. Number 3, its meaning. Number 4, a personal link. For example, the Spanish word rapido becomes the image of a cheetah on roller skates. Ridiculous, unforgettable. He never writes the English word on the front of his card. Instead, he forces his brain to reach. Active recall moment. Question: name the 4 connections to make for each word. Answer: shape, sound, meaning, and personal link. Mike also learned to challenge boredom with a system. Spaced repetition, SRS. Cards he almost forget appear sooner. Cards he knows well go to the back of the queue. This makes every minute of study push the hardest parts of his memory. He builds the habit. Review in the morning, add 1 tiny set of new cards, test in the evening with spoken sentences. Pronunciation work saved Mike from sounding close but wrong. He trained his ear with minimal pairs like ship and sheep and practiced the mouth positions for each sound. Small daily sound drills, listening, repeating, and watching his tongue and lips made his speech clearer and less tiring. Mini victory. After 2 weeks of these habits, Mike held a short conversation with a barista. He used only words he had linked to his life. It was messy, funny, and perfect. Fluency, he realized, is not a single giant leap. It is millions of tiny, well-made connections. Part 3. The ear learns first. Mike discovered something surprising. Before learning words, he had to train his ears. When he first heard the Italian R or French U, they sounded identical. But the book taught him that our ears can be retrained. Babies hear every sound in the world. Adults forget the ones they don't use, but they can get them back. So Mike began with listening training. Each morning, he sat with headphones, coffee steaming beside him, and listened to minimal pairs, 2 words that differ by just 1 sound. Example: peso versus peso, wait versus kiss. At first, they sounded the same, but slowly his ear began to wake up. He started hearing the difference. Each small aha moment felt like turning on a new color in his brain. Active recall question: what happens to adult ears, and how can they change again? Answer: they forget unused sounds, but can relearn them through ear training. Mike used simple apps and recordings. He closed his eyes and imagined where each sound happened in his mouth. When he said tu in French, he felt the round shape of his lips. When he said se in English, his tongue touched his teeth softly. It wasn't about memorizing sounds, it was about feeling them. He also learned pronunciation with the International Phonetic Alphabet. It looked scary at first, but it gave him control. He could now read any new word and know exactly how to shape his mouth. Quote, "Language," his teacher said, "is not only heard, it's felt." Soon, Mike noticed something magical. When he could hear a sound clearly, he could say it clearly. When he could say it clearly, his memory for that word doubled. Pronunciation became a memory tool, not just a fancy skill. One day at a cafe, an Italian man said, "You speak well, you sound Italian." That small sentence hit Mike's heart like sunlight, because fluency didn't start in his mouth, it started in his ears. Many have it for you. Spend 5 minutes daily listening to minimal pairs. Don't force it, just notice. The brain rewires quietly when you notice differences. Ontel Clem Play Part 3. Part 4. Words without translation. After mastering the sounds, Mike moved to words, but not like before. He had one strict rule: never translate. He learned this lesson the hard way. At first, He made English-Italian flashcards, dog, cane, table, tavolo. But every time he wanted to speak, his brain paused. Dog. Okay, that's cane. That pause killed fluency. His brain was translating instead of thinking directly in Italian. So Mike threw away the translations. He replaced them with pictures. Instead of dog equals cane, his card showed a picture of a happy brown dog chasing a ball. Under it, only one word, cane. No English at all. Now his brain learned directly from meaning to sound. When he saw a dog, the Italian word appeared automatically. No middle step. Active recall question. Why should you avoid translation? Answer. Because translation creates delay. The goal is to think directly in the new language. Mike filled his room with sticky notes, fridge, mirror, door, all labeled in Italian. He made it impossible to avoid the new words. Every object became alive. He even renamed his phone apps. Messages became messaggi. Language was no longer a subject, it became his environment. He also learned another powerful trick. Emotion locks memory. When something made him laugh, he remembered it better. So he made each flashcard funny, strange, or emotional. Example, to learn piangere, to cry. He drew a cartoon of himself crying over spilled gelato. Ridiculous, but unforgettable. And then he added spaced repetition, the magic memory loop. Cards he forgot appeared sooner. Cards he knew well appeared later. Each time he recalled the right answer, the interval stretched longer. This way, nothing was forgotten. Everything grew roots. Quote, "Your brain loves to forget," the book said, "so make forgetting your teacher." At first, it was tiring. Some days Mike didn't want to review, but he reminded himself, discipline builds freedom. He wasn't studying words, he was building connections that last for life. Mini habit for you. Choose 5 daily words, no translation. Use photos, your own voice, and emotion. After 7 days, test yourself. You'll be shocked at the retention. Mike began to dream in Italian. Not whole conversations, just small flashes, a sentence, a face, a smell. That's when he realized he wasn't learning Italian anymore. He was living it. If you're ready, say next, parts 5 and 6, where Mike learns how to... Part 5. Grammar without pain. Mike had always feared grammar. Words felt fun, but grammar? It was a battlefield of rules, tenses, and exceptions. He remembered school lessons, endless charts, red marks, and confusion. But one evening, sitting in a quiet library corner, he opened Fluent Forever and read something that changed everything. Grammar isn't rules, it's patterns your brain can feel and reuse. He closed the book, smiling. Patterns, not rules. That sounded human. Mike decided to stop memorizing and start noticing. Every time he read or heard Italian, he searched for rhythm, how sentences flowed. When he saw, Io mangio la mela, I eat the apple, and later, Lui mangia la mela, he eats the apple, he noticed one tiny change. Mangio became manja. That was grammar in action, not from a rule book, but from observation. Active recall question. What is grammar according to the book? Grammar is patterns your brain can feel and reuse, not rules to memorize. Mike turned grammar study into a game. He made mini flashcards with real sentences he'd heard in conversations, songs, or movies. Each card had a blank. Io, blank, la mela. He'd recall the missing part, mangio, check, and then smile. Instead of learning verbs, he learned use. He spoke sentences aloud. He acted them out. He even whispered them during walks. He made the words move. And something amazing happened. His brain started predicting. When someone spoke, Mike's mind guessed the next word naturally. It wasn't logic, it was rhythm. That's when he realized grammar wasn't a cage. It was the invisible rhythm of thought. One night, talking with a local friend, he said, "Iali ho visto un film bellissimo." The friend laughed, "You sound native." For the first time, grammar didn't feel like study, it felt like music. Mini habit for you. Forget grammar charts. Collect real sentences. Listen, read, repeat, and let your brain feel the pattern. Your tongue will remember what your mind cannot explain. Part 6. The Art of Thinking in the Language. Mike had reached the turning point. He could understand words, feel sounds, and even build sentences. But one problem still remained. He was translating in his head. Every thought went English to Italian, back again. That tiny delay made him slow, unnatural, unsure. So his mentor said something strange. Stop thinking in English. Start thinking with pictures. Mike didn't understand at first, but then he remembered how children learn. They don't translate. They see, feel, act. So he began a simple daily ritual called mental immersion. Every morning, he would walk through his house, naming objects in Italian, out loud, with gestures. La porta, the door. He touched it. Il bicchiere, the glass. He picked it up. Il sole, the sun. He looked outside and smiled. No English, only direct experience. His brain began forming language maps without translation. Active recall question. How can you train your brain to think in another language? By connecting words directly to images, feelings, and actions, not to English words. He also started describing his day silently in Italian while doing tasks. Sto aprendo la finestra. I am opening the window. Devo andare al lavoro. I have to go to work. He didn't care if the sentences were simple. He just wanted his thoughts to live in Italian. And something unexpected happened. His emotions began to shift too. When he got angry, his thoughts came out in Italian. When he felt joy, he whispered Italian words. The language was no longer foreign, it was becoming part of him. The book calls this internalization. Once your brain starts thinking directly in the new language, fluency becomes natural, automatic. Mike also practiced conversation shadowing, repeating native audio instantly, like an echo. He'd walk with earbuds, repeating every line from Italian podcasts and songs. At first he stumbled, but slowly his mouth learned the flow of the language, the speed, tone, and melody. Then, one night, at a rooftop cafe in Rome, he realized something extraordinary. A stranger spoke to him rapidly, and he replied instantly. No translation, no hesitation, just understanding. The words came not from memory, but from instinct. He laughed out loud. Months ago, he was that shy boy staring at grammar charts. Now he was living in another mind, another tongue. He understood jokes, emotions, tiny shades of meaning. Language was no longer a wall. It was a bridge. Mini habit for you. Speak to yourself in the language. Narrate your day. Use your hands, your eyes, your emotions. Don't chase perfection. Chase connection. Because the day you stop translating, you start thinking like a native. Part 7. Memory palaces and emotional anchors. One cold evening, Mike sat alone in his apartment, surrounded by hundreds of flashcards. He sighed. He had learned so many words, but some still slipped away like smoke. Why couldn't his brain hold on to them? Then he remembered something from Fluent Forever. Your brain forgets what it doesn't care about, so make it care. That night, Mike discovered two powerful tools: memory palaces and emotional anchors. He learned that memory loves location, so he turned his house into a memory map. His kitchen became the Italian kitchen, full of food words. On the fridge door, the word latte, milk. On the stove, fuoco, fire. By the sink, agua, water. Every step inside the kitchen whispered vocabulary to him. When he walked through the room, he didn't just see the words, he felt them. He smelled the coffee, touched the cold sink, heard the water running. Each sense became a hook for memory. Active recall question: why do memory palaces work so well? Answer: because your brain remembers places, senses, and emotions better than random words. But that wasn't enough. Mike wanted to lock each memory with emotion. So he added feelings to every new word: laughter, surprise, warmth, even embarrassment. When he learned cadere, to fall, he pretended to trip in his room, laughing hard. When he learned bacchiari, he imagined an awkward movie scene that made him blush. Ridiculous? Maybe, but unforgettable. Every card, every sentence, every image now carried a small spark of feeling. And emotion, the book said, acts like superglue for memory. One day, while reviewing, Mike realized he hadn't forgotten a single new word that week. Not one. He walked through his memory palace and spoke aloud. Il fuoco brucia. The fire burns. L'acqua scorre. The water flows. Il latte è freddo. The milk is cold. Each sentence felt alive, wrapped in sensory detail. That night, Mike wrote in his journal, "The secret isn't remembering more, it's remembering deeper." Mini habit for you. Choose 5 new words today. Attach each to a place, a smell, a sound, or a feeling. Close your eyes, walk through that place in your mind, and speak the words. Tomorrow, test yourself. You'll see how easily they return. Part 8. Mistakes are memory fuel. By now, Mike spoke Italian comfortably, but there was one thing that still made him nervous: making mistakes. Every time he said something wrong, a wave of shame hit him. He'd freeze, blush, and switch back to English. Then one day, his Italian friend, Lucia, smiled and said, "Mike, you learn fastest when you fail loud." Those words stuck in his heart. He remembered another line from Fluent Forever. Each mistake is a flag showing where your brain is growing. So he made a new rule for himself: fail boldly. He decided to treat every error like a discovery. One afternoon, he tried to say, "I'm excited," but he said, "Sono eccitato." Lucia burst out laughing. In Italian, that actually means, "I'm aroused." Mike's face turned red, but he laughed too. And that embarrassing moment made him never forget the right phrase. Sono entusiasta. Active recall question: what is the smart way to deal with mistakes? Answer: laugh, learn, repeat. Each mistake shows exactly what to fix and makes the memory stronger. He realized that emotion plus error equals permanent memory. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the imprint. So he started keeping a mistake journal. Every night he wrote 1. The sentence he got wrong, 2. The correct version, 3. A funny or emotional note beside it. Example: I sono caldo. I am hot sounds like I am sexually hot. Oh caldo. I feel hot. Correct version: never flirt accidentally again. By the end of a month, that small notebook became gold, filled with personalized lessons that no textbook could ever give. Soon, he noticed something amazing. After each embarrassing moment, he remembered better. His confidence grew, not because he was perfect, but because he wasn't afraid anymore. Language became play again. He joked with locals, made puns, even told stories that made people laugh. Every mistake added color to his fluency. The book said it perfectly. Fluency grows in chaos. Embrace the mess. It's how your brain learns best. One night, after a long conversation in a crowded bar, Lucia said, "Mike, your Italian is different now. You sound free." That word, free, hit him deeply. He realized fluency wasn't just about language. It was about letting go of fear, shame, and perfection. Mike looked at his mistake notebook, smiled, and whispered, "I'm finally learning like a child, fearless and curious." That's when he knew every wrong word had led him to the right path. Part 9. Live the language every day. Months passed. Mike could now speak, listen, read, and even joke in Italian. But something inside told him, "Don't stop here." Fluency wasn't a finish line, it was a lifestyle. So he began a new chapter, living the language. He didn't study anymore, he lived through Italian. When he woke up, his alarm said, "Buongiorno, Mike." He replied sleepily, "Buongiorno, mondo." Good morning, world. His phone, his playlists, his YouTube feed, all in Italian. He changed his GPS voice, watched cooking shows, listened to love songs, read short news headlines every morning. No pressure, just exposure through joy. Active recall question. What's the difference between studying a language and living it? Studying is effort. Living is immersion through joy and habit. At the cafe, he stopped sitting with English speakers. Instead, he joined a group of locals who met every Sunday to share stories. At first, he only understood half of what they said. But he smiled, listened, and caught the rhythm. Each week, his brain filled the missing pieces. He started a small Italian-only journal, 1 paragraph a day. No grammar check, no fear, just flow. Sometimes it was messy, but each word came from his heart. Oggi ho cucinato per la prima volta la pasta al pesto. Today, I cooked pasta with pesto for the first time. Simple, real, alive. He also discovered the joy of storytelling. Instead of memorizing vocabulary lists, he built stories around new words. When he learned correre, to run, he imagined himself running late to a train station. When he learned pioggia, rain, he imagined dancing in the rain with friends. The stronger the image, the deeper the memory. Stories make words emotional, he wrote in his diary, and emotion makes memory permanent. Every day was a mix of habits: listening, speaking aloud, writing tiny notes, watching short clips, reviewing flashcards. Not as a chore, but as a rhythm of life. He stopped saying, "I'm learning Italian." He started saying, "I live in Italian." And that simple shift changed everything. Language stopped being a goal, it became a home. Part 10. Teach to remember forever. One evening, while walking along the Tiber River, Mike met a traveler, an American girl named Sarah. She was frustrated, just like he once was. "I've tried everything," she said. "Apps, classes, but nothing sticks." Mike smiled softly. "I know that feeling," he said. "Let me tell you a secret. The best way to remember is to teach." He invited her to join his daily Italian cafe meetups. He began explaining the small tricks he had learned: ear training, no translation, emotion, flashcards, memory palaces. Every time he explained, his own understanding became sharper. Active recall question. Why does teaching help you remember? Because explaining ideas forces your brain to organize and reinforce them, turning knowledge into mastery. Sarah started to improve fast, and Mike noticed. A bellissimo. It's beautiful. They laughed at mistakes, shared new flashcards, and created stories for each word together. Every laugh, every shared correction made the words stick stronger than before. Mike realized why teaching works so well. When you help someone else climb, you climb higher yourself. Fluent Forever wasn't just about language anymore. It was about connection. Connecting memory, emotion, and people. A language, he said to Sarah one day, isn't just words. It's a way to see the world through new eyes. Conclusion: the true meaning of Fluent Forever. Months later, Mike stood on a small stage in Rome, holding a guitar. He looked at the crowd, Italians laughing, talking, smiling, his new family. And then, in perfect Italian, he sang a song he'd written himself. The audience joined in. His dream had come full circle. When the applause faded, he thought about the journey, the confusion, the flashcards, the mistakes, the laughter, the small victories that built a new version of himself. He realized fluency was never about perfection. It was about belonging. About being brave enough to connect. He wrote in his last journal entry, "Fluency isn't knowing every word. It's thinking, feeling, and dreaming in another world. It's remembering that language is not memory, it's emotion in motion." As the night sky glowed above Rome, Mike whispered his favorite word softly, "Casa," home. And he smiled, because finally, he was home, in two worlds.